because I have my true sister, Masiya Bomoni here, and she is our first guest on Shackles Off TV. And she might be coming in and doing some co-hosting in the future. But I wanted to start it off because we know that Shackles Off TV is about taking the shackles off of your mind, body, and spirit. That in order for you to have a transformation. And I think my sister has the most amazing transformation. Actually, you see a name on the screen here, but her birth name is actually Contrina Walton, and she was born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. She is a mother of four biological children, and we say biological children because she does have other children that she has, taken, been the mother of. So, of course, being a teacher for over 25 years, but in both Atlanta, Alabama, and currently in Florida. And she actually started her transformation about 30 years ago. Learning and researching, we have that in common. And I'm going to talk about, like, how we have that in common. We're going to bring some, give some good nuggets out for you. And she loves going down different rabbit holes like all of us on Shackles Off TV. And so she just wants to talk about her life experience and want people to remember that change, the change that she made to assist her in making the change that she wanted to see, and how other people can do the same. So, no further introduction. Let's talk. Let's talk to Masiya. Masiya, how's everything down here there in Florida?
So today is a little cloudy, but I've been here now for 7 months, and so far I'm loving it. I'm loving the weather. I'm loving the change from moving to a smaller area like Shorter, Alabama, to Jacksonville. So again, I am loving, loving, loving it. The children are loving it, and we're just growing and expanding. Our horizons here.
Right. Well, so tell me about yourself now. People might be saying, "Well, if that's her sister, why is she telling her to tell her about herself?" Tell them the story real quick so we can give some background and context to as to how we found out that we're sisters.
Okay, so I guess it's been maybe about 12 years ago. I started looking for my biological father. I always knew as a little girl that there was a disconnect with the family that my mother told me was my, biological father. And that was just my gut feeling, on the inside of me. And so I started searching for my biological father. And it wasn't until I did the 23andMe and the Ancestry.com that I was able to find a relative, my cousin Carolyn. And once I found her and we kind of put things together as to exactly where I lived or where my mother lived during the time of, when I was conceived and born. And we were able to come up with my dad's family, which is your dad. And so that's how we met, from me looking for and manifesting. It was something that I always dreamed of, something that I always wanted. And once I did my part and then let it go, it was like everything just fell into place. And it's been a great, great, great adventure, because it could have been a family that was not accepting of me and my children, but yet and still, you all did. You accepted us and opened your arms to us, your hearts, your homes to us. And it's just been a great journey. It's been a great journey. So just so
Break
proud
it a
and
little
glad.
bit.
Yeah.
Yes, and I believe it was my sister Latonia that was one of the people in our family that did the DNA test, and through that we found out that we're sisters. So that's just amazing. But it all ties into this whole transformation, because you changing your name again at the when I introduced you. And when I first met you, you had a whole nother name. You went by Contrina. That was the name that
Mhm.
your mother gave you. And of course, your mother has since passed. Lord rest her soul. And from us talking in the past, you told me that you were kind of pretty much lied to about who your father was. So take me back to why you think that happened. I know your mother's not here to defend herself, but take me back to that journey of you being a child and how everything kind of took place, with how did this weight, 300 pounds. So how did that happen?
So my mother was 16 years old when I was conceived. And my mother had lived the life of being lost herself. My grandmother, who she has passed on, also transitioned on. My mother was conceived through rape, and it was a
Mm,
Caucasian person that did this. In the process of my grandmother conceiving my mother, there was a disconnect with those two, probably in the womb because of what had taken place. Therefore, my grandmother
mm,
never showed my mother any type of love or affection. As a matter of fact, she gave my mom away when she was a little baby because I guess she just wanted to kind of erase um, that part of what had happened to her. In the process of her doing that and never getting the help that she needed, it also moved down to my mother. And so when my mother had me,
mm,
I was given away also to a relative in the family. And it was almost as though the curse was being passed down.
mm.
My grandmother had been given away, my mom was given away, and then I was given away. And so at the age of 5, my mother just decided one day, I'm going to move to Florida. And she called my mother, who had raised me from 6 weeks old until 5 years old. And she just said, I'm moving to Florida. She came and got me. She took me to Florida. And in the process of her doing that, I was the only one that was there. My mother was very abusive because she had a lot of anger inside of her. She didn't know how to show me love. She didn't know how to love herself. And so, therefore, when she took me to Florida, I would be at the house by myself a lot of times when she would go to work. And even when she came home, she was still, like I said, she had so much anger inside of her that she would take it out on me physically. And at the time, I didn't have anybody else. The mother, the family that I knew that was stable and loving and nurturing, I didn't have that anymore. And so food became my comforter. And within 6 months of me living in Florida, I had gained 68 pounds. So by the time we
What?
moved back to Georgia, that journey for me as using food as my protection or my comforter, that, had already started. And with everything that was going on inside of me mentally and my heart being the way that it was and the way that it felt, it just continued on because I never received what I needed to receive. So I, in turn, took the food in to try to fill that void that was there for me in my heart and my soul. So that's how the weight started. From there, it just continued. By the time I was 12 years old, I was already at 400 pounds. By the time I graduated from high school, I was at 450.
Oh my
And
God.
the highest that I weighed
Woo.
um, when I had my first child was 503 pounds.
Wow. Wow. That just like proves everything, because I'm, and my viewers know that I have personally been struggling with weight. I never have been that, my highest weight has only been like 253. Currently I'm like 242. But I, going on these intermittent weight loss journeys, I know, just stress will cause you stress, good stress and bad. I mean, food can really be a comfort. It's like, especially, okay, yes, this is going to taste this way. This is going to make me feel a certain way. It's kind of like food becomes a drug in a way, wouldn't you say?
Yes, it is. It becomes an addiction. But what happens is people don't look at it that way. So you'll get a lot of people that will not have any empathy or sympathy or compassion for people that are struggling with
Mhm.
weight problems compared to people that have an alcohol or drug addiction or things like that. And then some people even have other addictions. It could be shopping, it could be sex, it could be things like that you
Yep.
can't see. So they are able to hide it. You understand? If you're doing drugs to a certain degree, you can hide it because you have functional drug addicts. If you're drinking the
Mhm.
same way, if you're sexing, the same way. You can hide it, but when the person continues to eat, then you can't hide it because it continues to grow and go. And then, you know, people
Yep.
see it. So they tend to judge a person and say, what they caused that. They got that way, not looking at mentally what caused it, or emotionally what caused my addiction or anybody else's addiction.
Right. I mean, that's so true. And people say it's genetic, this. And some parts could be, but you just hit it on the head. It's people can hide behind. Everybody has something that they're battling. I really believe that everybody has some demon that's battling. They're battling through their bloodline. They're battling, daily. Could be, discipline as it comes to food, or like you said, some people do drugs. They can hide that. They can hide that they're promiscuous. All these things are manifestations of spiritual warfare, if you really think about it. So
Mm-hmm.
tell me about how, like, yeah, how did you start understanding, like, what did you need to do in order to, drop the 300 pounds?
So when I had my first son, the first thing that came to my mind was that I wanted to be there for him. Now, even though genetically I had no health problems, and I have to, give thanks to my mom and dad for that, because I never had high blood pressure. I never had sugar diabetes. At 500 pounds, I could still hit a back bend and a split, at that age or what have you. So I was very limber and could move, so that was never a problem. But what I kept thinking in the back of my mind was, am I going to be here to see my baby become grown if I continue down this same road? And so that's when I decided that I would, at the time, gastric bypass was very, very out there. People were really talking about having the gastric bypass, and I had struggled years with trying to do it another way. And so what I did was I ended up taking that route of having the gastric bypass, because at the time, mentally and spiritually, I wasn't where I needed to be. So therefore I took this physical or the fast route to lose the weight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think a lot of people do. People don't may not admit it. Some people are not forthcoming. I mean, I know a number of people who've had gastro bypass, who've had plastic surgery. People travel to other countries and do, and so you don't know what people really are doing. They might seem like then all of a sudden, oh, I've been exercising for, girl, I've been exercising for a whole year, and then now I'm, and some people may. But once you get past a certain weight and you get, what we call morbidly obese, and that's technically, I believe, anybody that's over 50 pounds overweight, they technically would classify you as morbidly obese. I mean, I'm technically classified as such. And it is difficult, and especially your hormones. Women, we go through so much, and then we have to work, and we have kids, and we have a husband, and we did blah, 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 all these things. So I can see why, because if I was at 500 pounds, I probably would do the same thing. I probably would do
Mhm.
the same thing. So how long did it take you to lose the weight? How did you manage to keep it off? Take me through that journey.
So it took me about 2 or 3 years to get to the weight that I am now. Basically, for the last 16 or 17 years, my weight has only fluctuated like maybe 13 pounds. Sometimes it'll go to
Goodness.
like 214, then it'll go down to 199. So that's where I basically been for the last 17 years. Um, and again, like I said, me being able to keep it off had to also do with, not that I started eating better, because a lot of times when we take this surgery or that route to lose the weight, mentally and spiritually, we're still not there. And that's why a lot of people end up gaining the weight back once they lose the weight. Now, there is a drug that a lot of people are taking right now that's used for people that are diabetic, and they are a lot of people are
Yep.
taking this drug to lose weight. However, they're not looking at If your body, and nothing is wrong with your body, nothing is wrong with your pancreas or your kidney, long term, how is that going to affect you, down the road? The same thing with me with the
Mm,
gastric
I'm glad you
bypass.
said that.
Right. So the same thing with me with the gastric bypass. Since I had the gastric bypass, I still have problems with my stomach, and I did lose
Mm.
the weight. However, my body makeup is different. Sometimes, you'll lose your hair, you lose your teeth, you lose all different types of things because
Oh
your
my goodness.
body is no longer able to digest the food and circulate those nutrients to the body as it should, because they bypass so much of your stomach. So again,
Mm.
if someone was to ask me if I could do it all over again, would I not have the gastric bypass? Spiritually and mentally, I could say yes. Physically, no, because like you said, once you get up to 400 or 500 pounds, it's hard. But as I've grown and transformed mentally and spiritually, there are other ways that you can remove the weight off outside of the gastric bypass, outside of taking this medication that a lot of people are taking to lose the weight. And all of that deals with what you said earlier. It deals with discipline. It deals with self love. It deals with so many other things that are mental and spiritually that most of us need to go through anyway. That's the true transformation. I've lost the weight, but the true transformation for me has been mental, emotional, spiritual for me, So I lost the weight, but I still struggled for years with what was going on inside of my head, because everything starts in the head, everything starts in the mind. So you have to change those things. And that's the thing for me. If I can change me, how I see things, how I see myself, how I love myself, then you do things differently.
And let's talk about that is so deep, and that's something that we focus on, and that's something I'm still battling with. That's not a battle that I have won. And I like to be transparent with people, because how people like to always say everything's so good. No, it's not. You have to show people both good and bad, because there is good and bad to everything that you do, and you just got to know
Yes.
which one you rather deal with.
Right. Right.
What role does habit play with this process, gaining weight, losing weight? What habits have you shown, good and bad, that have been part of this transformation?
So for me, it's about just making better choices with my eating. Like I said earlier, a lot of people that I know that have had the gastric bypass or taking the medication, they're still choosing the wrong things. They're not disciplined enough to eat accordingly. If it says that you're eating 1 meal a day, 2 meals a day, whatever your decision is, whatever you decide to do, and sticking to that and being disciplined, drinking your water, taking your vitamins, making sure you're getting your nutrients, making sure you're getting rest. It's all about the habits that we form. It's all about what you see outside of you. You go everywhere you go, you see food. You see on every corner, restaurant, So that's the battle in itself. Can you be strong enough and disciplined enough to say, you know what, I'm not going to do this, or I'm not going to have this? Or even if you decide to treat yourself every now and then to it, but making a habit of just eating whatever it is you want to eat, or doing whatever it is you want to do, then you're going to still continue down that same rabbit hole, like I said. So those are the things for me, as far as now making choices to watch what I eat, to watch when I eat. I have a tendency to be running, as you said, as mothers, we run, 2 3 jobs, you're going here, you're going there. So I'll tend to eat something, and then I don't eat but a little bit because of the gastric bypass, but it's what I eat or what time I eat.
And lower carb, my weight drops off pretty easy. But when I increase my carbohydrates, whether it's processed or natural, the weight doesn't come off, or it comes out extremely slow. So talk about like your diet habits in regard to Like, are you sticking to a certain type of, high protein versus low carb, or just mainly going vegan? And, what are some things that you notice, like different diets that you tried, and what do you feel like it's working with your body type? I know there's a big thing, a book that I read years ago called Eat Right for Your Blood Type. And like, I'm O blood type, so I'm supposed to eat more protein, more red meat. Talk about your diet and how that is helping you to keep the weight off, and all those things.
Well, for me, I've tried several different types. I read the book a long time ago called Eat According to Your Blood Type. I also attended Overeaters Anonymous, where they were saying, you're doing mostly vegetables, the protein, cutting out your sugars and your fruits and stuff like that. But I'm going to be honest with you, what I'm learning, and the higher up I go spiritually, it's not even, you can say I'm vegan, you can say I'm this and I'm that and I'm not going to do this, but let me just say this to you, Shanika, and everybody else that's out there. Because of the food, the way the food is done now, even the fruits and vegetables that we eat, it's genetically modified. So does your body really know what to
Yeah.
do with that, how to break it down? Is that all the way good? Now, if I say to you, go ahead and eat that because it's the closest that you can get to nature, yes, I would say that. But I'm not so concerned. It was so many times when I was like, okay, I'm not going to eat meat. Okay, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. And putting so much focus and stress on those things, again, it goes back to discipline. It goes back to when you love you, you're going to know what it is that you need to eat and not eat. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm not going to
Mhm.
tell anybody to just go vegan. I'm not going to tell anyone to just do fruits and vegetables. That's your choice of what you decide. But what I did was I put so much stress on trying to eat this way, trying to eat that way. And it just all came to me, that my spirit man is so important to me now. And the more that I take care of the spirit man and get this right here together, then I'm not concerned about those things like that. So, people can say, if you eat this way, then this is going to happen. But for everybody, it's different. Some people, if you do eat protein, it helps you to lose. Other people, it may make them gain. Some people, I know people that don't hardly eat anything and they don't lose anything. Then they change it around and they eat a
Yep.
lot of this and they lose a lot of weight. So you have to get to that point inside of you that whatever works best for you, that's what you do. But when it all boils
Mhm.
down, it's all about the spirit man. Because when you sit down and be still and listen to your spirit and your heart and that intuition that's on the inside of you, you know what you're supposed to do and not do. It tells you. It's just that we decide that we're going to still do what we want to do instead of doing what it is that we know, we're supposed to do. So you have to
I
get.
definitely agree with that.
Right, right. I remember my preacher one
Definitely.
time telling us when I went to church, the church that I went to, he said, I can tell which man you're feeding the most. He said, if you're overweight, you're
Mm.
feeding the physical man. But he said, for the spiritual man, which one, so I had to learn and get to that point to now I am truly on that road to satisfying my spiritual man more so than my physical man.
All right. Yeah, it was breaking up a little bit. Y'all, this is our first time doing a live recording on StreamYard, and technology. So hopefully you got it. But she was basically saying that, which man are you feeding? The spiritual man or the physical man? And that's deep. That's deep, because we do believe this, that we are in a spiritual world. Our body, we have body, mind, spirit. And if we don't, we neglect one of those, it's going to show. It's going to manifest in the physical. You neglect
It
one,
is.
it's going to manifest in physical to the spiritual. It's going to manifest. You are not going to get away from it. And I believe that you have to reprogram your mind. You have to. That's why we say shackles off. Because y'all, for us to say that we don't have a shackle, that's a damn lie. I'm gonna be real. It is a lie. All of us. have shackles. I both of us teach. We're both teachers, and it's so ironic because I did not meet Macy until like 3 or 4 years ago. It's my sister, but we act so much alike. We have a lot in common, and both of us are teachers. And I really believe that's a spiritual thing, right? Because I totally believe that teaching is a calling. If you're a real teacher, if you've been in this job for over 10, 15, 20 years, anybody over 5 years, you can't just be there for the check. You're smart enough to do something else. You can't just be there for the check. It really has to be a calling. And when you're in front of kids can be mean, especially when it comes to looking at you, and they might pick on you for being overweight. It don't matter if they're elementary, high school, middle school. So tell me about that. Growing up, maybe being picked on for your weight, or even now being when not now because you're not that overweight. But just tell me about how that is.
So for me, because I was abused as a child, I had a lot of anger. So mine younger in kindergarten on up to maybe like 10th grade, I was a fighter. You said anything to me,
Mm.
I'm just chopping you. I've always been a fighter. It's just that now I fight in a different way. But I was a fighter. So when people would pick on me or say something about me, you know, I would fight. That was my way of dealing with it. And then I became this person that wanted to save the world, because my heart was so big. I would help others that, I felt like if somebody came and picked on you, I'm this big girl, you know what I'm saying? I'll fight your battles for you, and so that was the thing for me. Now even though I've lost the weight, I have a lot of excess skin on me. And so, that in itself is it can be hard, because when you're walking and certain things like that, or like for my arms or something like that. So eventually I'm trying to get the surgeries to have those things removed or what have you. But even now with my children in class, they may ask me something, or they may look, I have lymphedema in my legs, and so they may ask me. But what I try to do is I try to say something or joke about my legs, or say, something so that it doesn't come off as I'm ashamed of them, but I bring the attention to it first before you can. You understand what I'm saying? And so my babies at school, they just so crazy about me. They don't care nothing about no weight. They love me so much. They don't even really look at it, like that. So, and I see people staring, when they see me or they see my legs or whatever. But I just try to you explain to people what it is, because a lot of times when people don't know, the lack of knowledge of what it is, then they look and stuff. But once they know, they look and glance and they go on about their business. And I think we are the ones that make it, uh, bigger than what it really is. And so coming up, I was a fighter. I would fight anybody that said anything about me. It wasn't until my homeroom teacher told me that he was gonna beat my ass if I got into another fight that I was like, hold up, I gotta do something different, you know. And so I started fighting more so with my mouth, the power in my tongue or in my head, I started my fight then that way instead of the physical fighting. And even today, I'm still a fighter. I fight for people, if it's some injustice there, or something like that, I fight for it. And that was one of the reasons why I changed my name. When I looked up the meaning of Katrina and what it meant, it really didn't have a spiritual meaning for me. And in the Bible, they would name people according to the characteristics that they wanted them to show or have. And a lot of times when we name our children, we just go out here and what sounds good, Mercedes, or what is that, and every time you call your child and they answer to that, that becomes who they are. And so when I changed my name, that's what that was for, because I am one. Masiya can also be pronounced Messiah. So I am the
Mm.
Messiah of my life. I create my life. And so me doing the things that I am doing is creating the life that I want to have, the desires that I want. So not being, when somebody call me, you calling me what I am. I am the creator of my life. I am a person that's for justice. I am someone who is fighting, behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, and all of that. So that's what that is. Macia, it stands for that. Bomani stands for warrior. Always have been a warrior. So call me who I am, Masiya Bomoni, someone who is going to fight for justice, a warrior who's going to stand for what it is that I believe in, no matter what. So that's who I am, and that was one of the reasons why I changed my name. The beauty of me having the weight or the shackles of the excess skin. I no longer need that. That was a part of my past. The weight was a part of my past. The skin is a part of my past. And so I no longer need that. And so I want to be able to move freely, be able to, not worry about some people get infections. I take care of myself very well, so I don't. But other people, when they have the extra skin, it can become infected or different things like that. So again, mentally, I just had to put my mind to that. This is something that I want to do for me. Not for anybody else, but for me. To complete the physical
Yeah,
transformation.
and you have, yeah. Yeah, and me and you pretty much have the same calling, I believe. I always felt compelled, and that's why we have this channel, Shackles Off TV, and we had this discussion at the beginning of the year. My initial thing was, okay, I'm gonna show me losing weight, and this is like the third or fourth time I did it on a platform, a social media platform, and honestly, I said I'm gonna do it in 12-week increments, and I haven't started the second round of the 12 weeks yet. I started my first round in January, had some success the first 8 weeks. And then, like you said, life got life and me traveling so much with my students and competing and all those things like back to back to back. I was somewhere every week. And so just kind of fell off. And so, I definitely understand that. But like you said, you still have to pick yourself back up and go back to what God has called you to do. And knowing that God is calling you to move in different places and be a leader, not just a teacher in a classroom, but a global. That's what I feel like, me and you have that in common. I feel like we have a global mission, right? Y'all, we are in a spiritual warfare, and the devil knows what the devil follows bloodlines, and he knows the struggles that you have in the family, and he also knows the calling that you have on your family. And
Mhm.
the calling, you know what it's meant. And in this time, 2024, we really have to be soldiers, right? We have to be, mentally, physically, spiritually, we have to be soldiers. And so in order to do that, you got to get right first, right? You got to get that spirit checked first before you do anything else. So that's very
Right,
powerful.
right.
So how are your kids like supporting this, your family? Tell me about that as well.
Well, my children are behind me 100%. They are so excited and ready. I think they may be a little scared too, which is normal, but like I always tell them, we put shields up, no weapon formed against us shall prosper or anything like that. So they're excited for me. My children know me. They have seen the transformation. As a matter of fact, I guess it was about 4 months ago, my daughter said to me, she's like, Mama, sometimes I don't even know you. And at first I took it, like, what? You don't know me. But then I turned it around and made it into a positive. You don't know me because I'm changing every day.
Mm,
And so
mm,
sometimes, I don't even know myself because I'm changing so. And sometimes I fall down. But the difference is now because I am striving for greatness and I'm striving for, to be the best and better me, it doesn't take me long to get back up. And that's the difference between me and other people. When they fall down, they kind of stay there for a minute. Not me. I start looking around and I, access what is going on. I acknowledge what it is, I accept what it is, and then I take the action to do what needs to be done to get myself back focused. And so, my children, they are 100% behind what I'm doing. Um, and they're excited for me. They are very, very excited for me.
Well, I'm definitely excited for you as well. It is, like I said, sometimes people have their hangups and they project it on other people. So I'm going to be definitely praying for you in this process because, it is, in my perspective, it says all things God is going to fight your battles for you, right? And you know what you're called to do. And God would not give provisions for these doctors to be as talented and as skillful as they were if they couldn't pull you through. So
Mhm.
that's just amazing. In Jesus' name, we just thank you. We just lift them up and just believe that you are going to be healed. And in regard to your surgery and everything that you have to go through. Did you want to have any last remarks for our audience today?
Well, I mean, the only thing that I could say um, is I said to you about transformation. I've been transforming for over 30 years, and it started from a book that I read. I always knew that I was different. I used to always question when people in my family would even treat me a certain way or different things. But what I realize now is spirit knows spirit. And they knew who I was,
Mm,
even when I didn't know who I was. I knew that I was a little different. I knew that I always questioned everything. And so I was born into that family and this family for a reason. And one, like I said earlier, I have to change me, in order for me to be that change that I want to see in my family, on my mom's side, my dad's side, or anybody else that I come in contact with. I have to be that change. But there was a book that I read about 30 years ago, and it was called The Game of Life and How to Play It. That was the beginning of my mental and spiritual transformation. Now, did I fall back a little bit? Yes, I did, because life be lifing. You understand? But the spirit man on the inside always hungered, just like they talk about the deer that hunted or panted for water. My soul has always been crying out to find my true purpose. And so, if I could leave something for everybody, that would be to find out who you are. That's the main thing. When you love you, when you know who you are and you know who your source is, then everything else is going to do exactly what it needs to do. So, yes, I have been transforming, physically, mentally, and spiritually for over the last 30 years. And it is getting to a point now to where, especially in 2024, it's time for me not just to transform, but to transmute. So that's what I want to leave. When you are really getting to the spirit of who you are and your purpose, all of us have a purpose for being here. And one of the purposes is,
okay.
we when we come into this body in this lifetime, there is something that you're supposed to do in this body in this lifetime for you to grow. So for me, it is me finding myself, and it took for me to find my roots first, to go back to finding my roots in
Mm,
order for me to complete that transformation, so that I can do exactly what it is that I came here to fulfill, the purpose that I was placed here to fulfill. So I say that for everybody else. Everything else is going to be okay. You just worry about you, changing you, learning to love you and knowing you. And then your purpose is going to just flourish because it's going to come to you. This is why I'm here. Whatever that may be. This is why you're here. This is why you're here. God said, I made you in my image. So we are supposed to be just like God. So that's why I am here, to get to that point, so that I can be good in everything that I do. No matter what's going on, there's so much going on out in the world today with the recession, with the weather, with these things that are going. You got wars going on, you got cancer, you got famine, you got all these different things that are going on around you in your physical world. But it's really to break your spirit. So if I can continue to
Mm.
stay on my spiritual path, then everything else, the transformation and the change that I'm gonna see in me will spill over into everybody else. And I hope that everybody else will look at it that way. Because if I can change me and it spills over into those that I'm around, then if you do the same thing, then we'll make a difference in this world and we'll be able to build a world that we want to see, not the new world order that they're talking about, but the order of the world that we want to see. So that's basically what I have to leave you guys with.
Yeah, shackles off. That's like you said, transforming, not letting them dictate what we are supposed to be, how we are supposed to live our existence as humans on this earth, as spiritual beings having an earthly experience. We have to define what this world is. But first of all, we have to know who we are. And so that is just so powerful. This is so good. I can't wait to get in the studio and really edit this, and because we had some technical difficulties in here, but it is just being able to share your story, this story, because you have other stories to tell. And so we're gonna have to bring you back on about those particular once this is over, right? Praise God. Once this is over, there's other stories you got to come back and share, because you have so much knowledge and wisdom to share with the world. So I would love for you to come back on or co-host with me and for talking to other people, because we have to, in order for us to shift, we got to help other people shift. we
Yes.
and we and we know that we've been doing that for years, right? We've been doing that most of
Right.
our lives. But it's like now God is saying, okay, I need it to be like like a hurricane. You know what I mean? Like, you've been doing it in the rain. It's been dripping and dripping and sometimes flooded, but now it needs to be like a hurricane of wisdom and pushing people, because this is the time. This is the time. This is the time. We cannot wait. We can't wait. We're in the 90s no more. We're not in the early 2000s anymore. So, whew, this is powerful. This is powerful, y'all. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and end this session. Thank you all so much for staying and watching this whole video on Shackles Off TV. Please tune in. We're going to have some more powerful guests. And like, comment, and subscribe. Have a wonderful day.